420 is coming up. It'll be the 6th year in a row. I've gone to 20 stores on 420. A couple key takeaways is that discounts that happen on 420 end up being the everyday low price at a discount retailer about 2 years later. Obviously, there's increased sales on the day of of 420. So the last couple of years, due to COVID, people have tried to do it a couple of days before, didn't really work out. So this will be the first time in a few years where it's no discounts before, and there'll be an increase in volume in Canada by about 52%, 86% increase in volume in the US. And although the younger crowd tends to like it more, it'll be interesting because prices have already dropped everywhere. Flour dropped from 46% to 41%. Pre-rolls have dropped. Sales across the board in North America have all dropped. So it'll be interesting to see if the younger crowd can pick up that enthusiasm and drive 420 sales like we've seen all in the past. We're going to dive into some of the sales for 420, talk a little bit about the nuances, all of that coming up.
It's only entertainment.
Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, Capital Markets Analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast.
A lot of discounts on 420. That's across all markets. So each year we're going to see 420 having some pretty good discounts, except for like top shelf. So the last couple of years, you're not going to see, at least I haven't seen a lot of discounts for top shelf items. But aside from that, you're going to see some pretty significant discounts where people are just going to max out what they can get, whether that's an ounce or two or 7 grams of concentrate, whatever the caps are, people are going to reach those limits. You see discounts spiking every year, with the exception of COVID. Sometimes there just wasn't a lot of discounts. Like last year was probably the worst year I've ever seen. As a matter of fact, in 2020, 420 wasn't the single largest day of the year. New Year's Eve took the largest sales day of the year. So a lot of people, because there was 3 days before, they wanted to spread that out. Whereas last year, there just didn't seem like a lot of discounts. Kind of interesting. I've noticed that across the board, whether it's flights to Las Vegas, $800 from Seattle to Las Vegas for a flight is crazy. I can get to France right now cheaper than that. So it's not just cannabis that's not discounting. It's really everyone trying to get their money back from everyone not going anywhere, doing anything. I think gas prices are gouging as well because no one drove. And now that they're getting their money back. Everyone's doing that. Wholesale prices in cannabis are going up, even though sales are going down across every segment, across everywhere in North America, every market. So people are wanting to get their money back, even though sales are decreasing. So interesting dichotomy there. Looking at discounts for 420, you can see in Canada, definitely surging in cannabis sales. So lesser than what we see in the US, but in 2020, for example, increased 66%, but only by 59% 2021. So discounts, on the other hand, they've risen a lot more significantly in the last couple of years, more competitive, but relative increase is probably due to the fact that their average discounts in Canada are much lower than in the US. So for example, a 213% relative increase in 2021 was caused by a rise from 2.1% to 6.4%. So small little percentage increase, but proportion-wise, maybe not that large. Looking at individual product categories, experiencing some different levels of sales growth. So on this graph, relative sales increase in 2020 and 2021 across all cannabis product categories in the US. There's beverages on the left side of the graph, consistent with the winning on 420. People wanting, more expensive stuff discounted. So that makes sense. Similar to Black Friday, all the big ticket items like TVs and stuff, people are going to want to see discounted. But like I mentioned before, a lot of the top shelf items are not heavily discounted. What we see in this trend for beverages on most holidays, edibles and flower concentrate pre-rolls typically perform well, while tinctures and topicals, capsules do not. Those are for wellness, and 420 is more for recreation, more celebration, kind of like a New Year's Eve. So vape pens, one of the lower growth categories on 420. They tend to be a higher cost. So you would assume that consumers would take advantage of getting a good deal. I know I do. People are buying more on 420. That's for sure. Like I said, they're going to cap out what they can buy. So they're going to max out on the flower and max out on their concentrate, everything, and just buy as much as they can and just bulk up. So we're kind of showing that the sales lift is caused by an increase in total transaction volume. So just more people going in and buying more stuff. So as I've mentioned in other podcasts, there's been a decrease across every market, every product category. So when we look at year-over-year sales growth, I would expect to see that decrease here. What we can see is the category market share from March 2021 compared to February of 2022. In just 11 months, there's been some significant shifts. So most notably, flower market share dropped from 46 to 41%. Pre-rolls increased 25%, vape pens increased 14%, and edibles increased 12%. And in California, 42% is about the average for flower. That's what I would expect is 60-40. 40% for flower, 60% for everything else. Pre-rolls are cheap right now. Inflation is putting a lot of pressure on people. They're going to go for cheap stuff and convenience. Price and convenience. It's how people choose everyday items. Pre-rolls are popular in places that are established and open, whereas conservative markets like their vape pens. So Arizona is going to want vape. Northwest is going to want their pre-rolls. So looking at the rate of change for flower and pre-roll market share in the U.S. over the last year, you can see that flower is decreasing steadily. Pre-rolls, on the other hand, a little bit more volatile, but rising quickly through most of last year. And I think we'll see pre-rolls increasing as markets open up and normalization happens. It's just a convenient, quick way where you don't have to have an apparatus like a pipe or, looking like a crackhead. Soccer moms are going to want to go for pre-rolls and vape pens. When trying to analyze consumer demand, a little bit hard. There's been shifts in consumer demand, what they want. With COVID, it was about not combusting at first. So edibles, you saw a massive increase in the very beginning of 2020. Looking at category sales share, it's not the only factor you want to consider if you're trying to look at what that supply and demand might look like, but basket penetration, or the portion of the baskets that a type of product occurs in. Also looking at what people want to buy. So pre-roll market share is only 13% for the month. They're in 1 out of every 3 baskets. So 30% of all transactions, increasing significantly. Vape pens saw more dramatic increase though they're rising 1/5. So they're going to be in 22% of all baskets. So again, that's about convenience. Can you use that wherever you want? You don't have to smell it. So definitely increasing more. We should probably see more of that on 420. Looking at who's buying it, consumer age groups by gender and age. So you can see female consumers had a lot stronger response to 420 last year, increasing by 140% compared to the previous month. Younger consumers also a lot more excited about it. They're 21, and so every day someone of Gen Z is getting closer to that legal age limit, and so increasing the portion of sales for that particular age group. Sales to Gen Z came pretty close to tripling on 420 last year, while sales to Gen X and baby boomers didn't even double. So it makes sense that the continued caution of COVID may influence that trend. But then again, the younger generations is coming of age is going to skew that percentage. The majority of 420 sales previously was driven by an increase in transaction volume, just people buying more stuff. So comparing that growth to the demographic groups across the board, we could see in 2021, last year, a clear trend of the younger age groups. That's the Gen Z and millennials, greater increase in transaction volume, buying more stuff than the older groups being Gen X or baby boomers. So within each age group, female consumers slightly more transactions, buying more stuff. Maybe the guys are out there just buying more often, and then women kind of using 420 as an opportunity to buy stuff that they normally wouldn't, or discounts or trials or whatever. Not really sure, but we're seeing that females led the way with 150% more transactions in the average previous 4 weeks. One thing I've noticed about going to 20 stores on 420 for the last 6 years, is that bud tenders, majority of bud tenders like flower. I would think that they want dabs, but it's something like 3/4 to 95% of all bud tenders like flower, which is pretty surprising. Um, so that's something that I've noticed, is that flower is still dominant, even though 60% is other things. People trying stuff, it's still the flowers the go-to. So I think what we'll see is a lot of people going out this year, whereas the last 2 years they didn't. You're going to see a lot more consumption parties. Maybe not so much sharing of joints. Maybe that's still a little bit. Going out. There's no more mask mandates around, but I'd say between 40 and 60% are still masking. A couple folks I see around here double masking still. So people are still worried about it. I wouldn't anticipate the sharing of joints, but I do think a lot of people are going to be out, especially outdoor stuff like golf tournaments are going to be huge this 420. A lot of people are going to be out and about, consuming and having fun and wanting to go and do things and be a part of the community. So between Seattle and Portland, there are no more events anymore. We don't really have expos or conferences or anything. The market's been around for so long, people don't care. And a lot of those are moving into California or other markets. So the Cannabis Science Conference was in Portland no longer. So we literally don't even have Hemp Fest anymore. COVID killed everything. And so Vancouver, BC doesn't even have a lot of events. So I was going to go up to Canada. I don't know. So not a whole lot going on. It's becoming more regional, national shows, less local. Everything's kind of growing up, including sales and brand concentrations and expectations. So getting your strategy and figuring out what you want to do, you could go online, trying to figure out what it is that you could buy, and making the most of it. So we're going to do a little 20 stores on 420. I'll show you what I get. Hopefully we'll have a nice little podcast put together about what we're able to get and the deals and show you all of that. Just kind of come back to the Talking Hedge and find out.
With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.